It has been a remarkable 3 weeks for Kamala Harris, and it is not over. NBC News reports today that the Harris campaign is transforming its massive rally crowds into thousands of ground volunteers in key swing states. But it has also been a remarkable 3 weeks for Donald Trump, just not in a good way. According to recent reporting in the New York Times, Trump has been in a foul mood and complaining incessantly about having to start the race over again. The people around Mr. Trump, the Times reports, see a candidate knocked off his bearings. Joining me now are Kadia Goba, politics reporter for Semafor, and MSNBC political analyst and former Democratic senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill. Knocked off his bearings. Now, Kadia, I feel like the beginning of this spiral probably started at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference, the NABJ, where you were one of the interviewers who questioned former President Trump, and he gave his incoherent answer about Kamala Harris's racial identity. What was it like to see him beginning to be knocked off his bearings, and what do you make of the weeks that have ensued?
You know, it was very surprising because I just didn't expect that. You have to realize I had just interviewed Donald Trump in June, so a few weeks before that interview. So to hear him, you know, with this new attack line about Kamala Harris's race and her not identifying as a black person or a black woman, and, you know, now she's Indian. It was very surprising. But also all of the other rhetoric around, you know, the sound and everything else, and calling, you know, attacking essentially the interviewers. It was surprising because I feel like I haven't seen that since 2016 on the campaign anyway. And, you know, it hasn't tapered off. As you just mentioned, there are reports where he's been frustrated privately.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't tapered off. And Claire, you know, by some accounts, Trump is even angrier than he was prior to the tragic assassination attempt. And yet the reports from inside Trumpland, according to NBC News, are when we're effectively able to put Biden's record on Harris, the polling's going to go back to what it was before. That's according to an outside advisor talking about the Trump campaign. And my question is, like, what do you make of the spiraling that's happening right now in Trump land and going back to what it was before? Do you think that can actually happen?
Well, I think you have to remember what Donald Trump is. He's a marketer. And he has succeeded in American politics by building what he sees as a brand, marketing himself as somehow on the side of your grievance, and getting attention, saying things that normal candidates wouldn't say, doing things that normal candidates wouldn't do. And when he did that, he got so much attention, so much earned media, because everyone was astounded that he would say and do the things he was doing. Now, all of a sudden, he has shrunk. He is no longer the BMOC. He is no longer the guy that everybody's talking about on TV. We're talking about him now, but really, if you look at the coverage over the last 3 weeks, it's been all Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's their crowds, not his crowds. It's their polling, not his polling. And what he does when he gets in that position, he gets angry and he gets even more crazy. He says even more crazy things, like him and Vladimir Putin saying, way, no way. I mean, it's just, or that her crowds are AI generated. So I don't think this is going to get better. I think it's going to get worse. And I don't see anything event that's going to change the trajectory of this, because you can't change Donald Trump. I'm
also surprised, Claire, that, and I'm not surprised, actually, he has been unable to sort of find his line of attack for Harris. And I think some of that is owed to the fact that his two previous opponents, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, are known entities in American politics. And with Kamala Harris, he's dealing with someone that is not a cipher, but does not have decades of elected service on the national level. And he has not been able to land a punch at all. It really undermines the myth of him being some genius marketer that can, you know, sort of pin the tail on any politician that dares run against him.
He doesn't know how to run for anything, Alex. He's never had policies. He runs against everything. America sucks. China sucks, immigrants suck, everybody, calling people names. He is a negative guy. He knows that negative works. If you run down your opponent, if you run down the other guy's brand, then your brand emerges. And it's not working because people are looking at Kamala Harris. They're seeing someone who is smiling and happy and aspirational and hopeful. And they go, you know what? I kind of like that better than all the darkness, gloom, and doom that Donald Trump specializes in. I think he's got a real problem, and he still is so mad that he's not running against Joe Biden. He can't get over it.
It feels like there was a lot of reporting. We were talking a lot about communities of color and young voters, which were a problem for the Biden campaign. Though the Biden campaign would deny it, the polling showed that there was a real loss of support there, which it sounds like, or it seems like from the numbers we have now, Kamala Harris is making up dramatically, right? The New York Times Siena poll in the 3 battleground states Democrats have to win, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, shows among black voters, Harris is getting 81% of the vote. Trump is getting 13. Among young voters, Biden's getting, I believe, 56%, or Harris is getting 56%. Trump is getting 41%. Can you talk to me a little bit about, the degree to which, A, this is surprising to you from your reporting, and B, to which you think this is fungible, whether that this is support that comes and goes, or whether you think this truly represents a turning of the tide?
Well, I think what you definitely see is a re-energized Democratic Party, right? We see some of the base coming back home. Some of them weren't, happy with the former candidate, Joe Biden. So I think you see some of that. That's where those numbers creep up and try and kind of tie with Donald Trump. But I will say that Republicans will float between 11 and 14% on a presidential election. And it's not surprising that Trump is at 13% right now. I think the race going forward will be chipping away at some of those black votes. I talk to people in the inner cities in New York and cities who have been, impacted by the migrant crisis. They're still a little on the fence about whether or not Kamala Harris has will have a policy that's different from Joe Biden. So, while she is gaining momentum, I still think there's work to do because Republicans see an opportunity, especially among black men.
Can we talk a little bit about her strategy going forward, Claire? Because I think there's some vague debate about the specificity with which she should campaign in terms of policy over the coming months. I should say 84 days. Do you have an opinion on that, whether there should be more policy or whether riding the momentum, the extraordinary outpouring of grassroots enthusiasm is enough to get to Election Day?
Well, no one should confuse the enthusiasm for Kamala Harris for a lack of substance. She knows her stuff. She knows where this country needs to go. And I'm sure they will lay out these policy positions and they will be available for people to look at on websites and think about and research. But she needs to be careful because Democrats sometimes fall in the trap of thinking, well, if I can just give one more detail about how we are going to convert green energy into jobs, if I can just give them one more in the weeds factoid, that will do it. Keep in mind, Alex, the people who are going to decide this election are not high information voters. Many of them don't pay attention until the last 60 days of a campaign. So, yes, she has to have that substance ready to go, and she's got to answer questions about that substance. But she needs to keep her campaign where it is now in terms of, hey, we're not going back. We're going forward. And this is about you, and it's not about him. And those are the things that will convince those low information voters that, frankly, decide many, many close presidential elections.
Such a good point. Also, Donald Trump is leading a Republican Party with no decipherable platform whatsoever other than tax cuts for millionaires. Kadia Goba, Claire McCaskill, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate your time.